Hey everybody, it's me, Gina Bianca, and we're back for part 2 of my Salon Reality color correction. Okay everybody, so we are back again with part 2 of my Salon Reality color correction. If you haven't watched part 1, feel free to go back on my channel and watch. I'll link the video below for you guys so you could see the entire process that we did. So the reason I'm sharing this video, part 1 and 2, is because I really want to spread the word for clients and stylists about what is realistic during color corrections. So for my first video, I showed you my guest that came in. She came in with some washed out black and she was, ready to move toward being blonde, but it was gonna take a process. So we started the process by doing a platinum card, but I teased her root so that it was an easier grow out. We didn't bleach her roots or anything, but we did pretty much a platinum card, so every hair in the foil, to try to lift out all of that previous color. I had to make a decision during the color correction process if we were going to make the process easier for next time or if we were gonna make it harder for next time but leave it looking better during the first session. So at the end of the appointment, as I was toning it, I made the call to tone it a level 9 and try to even it out the best I could, but not to deposit darker. The reason I did this is because either way, I was gonna have to lift that out at the next session, and I knew that it was gonna add more time, more money, and more damage to the hair. So my guest came in for her next appointment today, the one that you're gonna watch, and she was pretty irritated and upset that her hair didn't look perfect for the 2 weeks that she had to sit on it. And I'm gonna create another video for you guys about, color correction expectations, because I had to set her straight right away. She sat down and pretty much told me how it was gonna be, and I was just like, no, this situation, if I toned it darker, you would have been upset with me for a whole other set of reasons, Sometimes it has to look a little bit crazy to make the next session easier. So what you're gonna see today is session number 2. She had 2.5 hours booked with me. We ended up going over and spending a little bit more time on her hair because she wasn't as easygoing and understanding as I thought she was going to be. She wasn't as flexible as I thought she was going to be. So I ended up spending an additional hour on her hair and covering every single hair again. I was going to do a full highlight and focus on the banding. However, I did decide to go in and do a full other platinum card, feathered, with feathered and teased, but I made sure that I took bigger sections, low volume. You'll see. Anyway, that's how the process started. Let's get into it. We are going to start this session with Joico Defy Damage Pro Series 1, spraying all over, making sure we cover all of the hairs, and this is going to help us protect the hair from breakage and damage. I highly recommend this product when you are doing color corrections. It's super important to protect the hair in every way that you can. I also want to point out that during her first session, she had 0 breakage, and she does have a mullet haircut. So no breakage, just a funky, funky haircut. Once the hair is prepped, you're going to go ahead and section the hair off. You want to always make sure you're working with clean sections and have some sort of game plan when you start. So in this case, I'm going to be using my standard, most used sectioning, which is just the mohawk, the sides, a triangle through the back, and then the back split in half. So I'm going to start in the back, and as I shared with you guys before, I'm going to be platinum carding her again, following the same thing I did last time. I'm going to leave these back sections out pretty much. They're already over processed. The few minutes I had lightener on them to remove the blue last time was plenty of time. They're white platinum, so we don't need to lighten those again. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of customize my placement in the back to just hit the hair that needs to be hit. And I'm going to be using the Framar 8x11 Starstruck foils, Joico Blonde Life with 10 volume, and my blend strategy is going to be tease. So I'm going to make sure that I'm back combing just up at the base for blend instead of back combing at the bottom to leave dimension. So the lower you tease, the lower you back comb, the more is left behind, because what goes up must come down. So make sure you watch the last video. We talk a lot about tease and color correction tips. I'm working very quickly through this application. I do have my assistant helping me. She's holding hair for me. This is my favorite way for somebody to help and assist me, is to hold and section the hair for me if possible, because it just takes that extra step for me so I don't have to unclip and reclip the hair. So I love when assistant helps me do this. And yes, I'm working very, very quickly through the head, taking pretty decent sized sections depending on the hair texture. If you're re-lightening again, you know, you want to make sure your section size is a little bit bigger. The smaller the section, the lighter the result. So you want to make sure that, you know, if you're lightening and platinum carding again for the second time, which isn't uncommon when you're doing color corrections, that you take the section size a little bit bigger. It'll just be a little bit more gentle on the hair. So I'm going through and continuing diagonal all the way up the back of the head to ensure, you know, I get that coverage, teasing slightly, gluing where I want saturation to begin, feathering up, saturating all of that hair with the 10 volume Joico Blonde Life, and working my way through. Moving along to the other side, continuing my same placement, going through and getting all of that coverage, making sure I leave out the over-processed pieces. Those pieces were pre-lightened, not from me, with blue over them, and I just left the lightener on only a couple minutes in our last session, and it pulled the blue out completely and revealed, you know, her hair had been wicked processed to put that blue in. Another thing about that placement is whoever put it in didn't have a rhyme or reason to the application. So it took a long time in the first video even to section her, because it was hard to leave that hair out because there was no rhyme or reason. So when you're doing fashion colors and you're doing the statement pieces, like, try to have a rhyme or reason so that whoever's doing it next time, or if you're doing it next time, it's a little bit easier to work around, right? But hey, when you're a color correction specialist, you don't get to ask for anything or make any demands. You kind of just work with what you've got, and hopefully the guest understands. So here we go, we're going through the back, just finishing up that back section, teasing, gluing where we want saturation to begin, feathering up, gluing down, saturating all of that hair for her second session. And Elise just ran to mix me some more color. So we're going from 10 volume to 15 volume. I'm moving into the triangle section. In this section, I'm gonna go horizontal now. I'm gonna go in, back comb, anchor that foil in, and I'm gonna get all of that hair saturated, feathered, and lightened up. As I shared with you guys before, I'm using the Joico Blonde Life with 10 volume. She's gonna be mixing me up some 15 volume for, you know, the next section of the head. And I'm making sure my lightener is mixed 1 to 1.5 or to 1.75, you know, a little bit on the thinner side. Blonde Life can be mixed 1 to 1 all the way up to 1 to 2. So I wanna make sure that it's on the thinner side so it's not too aggressive, and so that it spreads easily throughout the application. I'm repeating this application all the way up the head shape, and then when I get to the front sections, I'm going to be doing the exact same thing. I lost my videographer, she had to take a guess during the front pieces, but I'll tell you, I went in and just went diagonal and did the same exact placement all the way through the front in her money piece. I just tapped her band. I left the money piece out because it was already super processed from the blue that was there before I did her hair. So I went diagonal from the front of her hair, and I just tapped the band, and then the remaining hair that was not over processed, I just went in and did the same exact application. So what you're seeing in the back here is exactly what I did in the front, and then I will show you the mohawk section shortly. All right, so like I said, I was unable to show you guys the sides, but I did go diagonal, teased, and just same thing, tease and feather. So for the top mohawk section, the pattern I chose was a feathered slice, teased and feathered slice, and a slice straight to the scalp. So this is the slice that's gonna go straight to the scalp, and the reason I chose to do this is to give her an extra layer of blend. In case the banding was too much, it would give the look of highlights to kind of blend that band out a little bit and to just make it look a little bit more blended. So I did the tease, you'll see in this section here, I did, you know, the regular sections I've been doing. I back combed slightly, and then I'm going in and putting that foil in the same as I've been going throughout the entire head. And then her neck section is going to be a slice straight to the scalp. So I'm going, you know, feathered slice, tiny slice straight to the scalp. And this pattern is gonna help give an extra layer of blend up through the mohawk section so that it's more blended, more lived in. And so in case that band doesn't lift, because you kind of have to set yourself up in case something goes wrong, you know, in case that band doesn't lift, we're gonna have an extra layer of blend up into the top. And we're just gonna repeat that pattern. So that pattern is slice up to the scalp and then feathered and teased slice. So we're just gonna keep repeating that all throughout the mohawk section, and it's gonna leave us with a beautiful blended result, we hope. Again, we're just repeating that pattern all the way through the mohawk section, a nice teased slice and then a slice right to the scalp. All back to back, no hair left out except for those over processed pieces around the perimeter. Beautiful. So we finished the application fairly quickly, about 45 minutes because I had help, and it was lifting really, really nicely. You know, that 10 volume, the previously lightened hair, the Defy damage, the small to medium sections, you know, it was really, really great for a second application, and it ended up, you know, lifting really, really great. And up in this front area, I'm gonna show you here around her money piece and in the front, she did have some serious banding there, and all I did was go in and tap the band. I didn't really touch anything else. I just tapped the band to lift out the warmth. Had to get a great foil shot, and we did end up pulling out those front foils the second that band was out and that they were done. We pulled those out, and then we let the whole thing process for about 35 to 45 minutes. When I'm pulling out foils, I like to kind of go through and marry them together and really look at it and see what I'm working with. I did notice some banding. I did notice some, more imperfections, which is to be expected with a color correction. But I pulled the foils one by one and kind of was like inspecting my work, looking at it. And then at this point, I'm really starting to think about what I'm gonna tone her with. So I'll show you guys the foil pull. You can kind of see there's a little bit of warmth in there. It's not completely perfect lift, but she did have some crazy colors in there. And she did have some permanent gray coverage in there from like months ago, which was like hanging out in the middle of her hair. So it's a lot to deal with. It's a lot to work with. Yeah, you can see right there, there's like some heavier banding. I'm going through and just kind of tapping it with the lightener, marrying everything together and really kind of going through. And this is where I start to decide my toning strategy. So it's time for the first rinse. As you guys can see, it's a little yellow orange. She still has a beautiful blend up at her root, which I'm really happy about because with the amount of gray that she has, it's pretty common to go in and do a gray coverage, but the blend and the lift that we got made it so nice, so we never had to do a root, which is really great. But as you can see, she still has that front, which was really white from her previous lightening. And then through the back and the bottom and the hair that we really focused on is still a little yellow orange, but now it's more on the yellow side instead of the orange side. And as you can see, there's like no hair. I always show them because like I want them to know that their hair is not breaking off. That their hair is fine. Typically when their hair feels fried after a correction, it's because their cuticle is blown open from being lightened. This is a common thing. If you want to pull color out of the hair, the cuticle has to open. And yes, we can close down the cuticle, but it takes the cuticle months to naturally close back down. So I was really happy at the lack of breakage. There was really no breakage. The lift was generally pretty clean. And yeah, this is what we did for toning. I can't wait to share this with you. Okay, so we are toning my color correction right now. Her hair is very blonde. It looks great. I have concerns though. Her hair was just lightened 12 days ago, full platinum card. I used the Lumishine liquid on her and I toned like the lightest blonde possible, mainly just to like start closing the cuticle, try to even it out, get ready for the next session. So we lightened it again today, pretty much pulled everything out that we did and lightened more. She's got the tiniest bit of banding remaining, and this is why, because 4 months ago, she got her hair done and she did a permanent gray coverage. So that is right here now and is the bane of my existence. So it's mostly out. It looks good. I'm happy with it. And none of her hair is falling out, breaking off, nothing. It is so healthy. The only concern is her cuticle has been lifted wide open twice, and you know what I mean, she wants to be blonde, so it is what it is. She's gonna have to do low heat. She is going to have to, you know, blow dry it really good once and then leave it for like 10 to 12 days, whatever, and use a lot of oils and really let her cuticle naturally close back down. So I'm more worried about frizz than breakage. And this is just reality of color correction, like to be blonde, right? So for her toner, I have chosen, when in doubt, I always use NAG, Natural Ash Gold. When in doubt, I always use NAG. She's more yellow than orange, but I'm still gonna use NAG just because, like, when in doubt, I always use NAG, Natural Ash Gold. So I'm gonna be using 10N, and this is Lumashine Dimensional Deposit. So this is Joico's Demi, Cream Demi. So I'm hoping that it will last a really long time instead of the liquid, which will last, but on blown open hair like that, it's just easier for a liquid to slip out of the cuticle. So this I'm hoping that will last a lot longer. I'd like for her to get 2 or 3 months out of this and for her to, you know, be able to not have to come back. I was going to say leave me alone for 3 months, but, you know, she's a nice person, but like I don't want her to have to come back. So 10N, 9NG, 8NA. Right now I have mixed in here. 1 second. I gotta re-clip it. It's okay. So right now I have mixed in here about an ounce of the 8NA. Now I'm gonna go in with 10N. And the reason I want the 8 in there is because it's on wet hair. And I want it to be like a level 9. So I got the 10. And I'm working with 8, 9, 10 because I want her to be a solid level 9. So I'm gonna go equal, equal, equal. And I know she's got some yellow in her hair already. So technically, like, you don't really need the gold as much, but it's an NG, it's mostly natural gold. So I'm still gonna do, when in doubt, I always use NAG, you guys. If you learn anything from me as a hairdresser, especially I am a color correction specialist. I've been doing this for a long time. When in doubt, we'll see what happens though. I could be eating my words and we'll fix it later, whatever, but we'll see what happens. But typically when in doubt, I always use NAG. So this is before the toner. Not bad, but definitely still a tiny bit of banding. As a perfectionist, it's like, you know, you have to get over it when you're a color correction specialist. Like, it's good to be a perfectionist, but you also have to accept that perfection does not exist when there's box dye or if you're lifting like 10 levels in one sitting. You can get pretty damn close, but you have to like go easy on yourself and you have to manage the client's expectations, which is a whole different skill. Okay, amazing. So we're gonna go through and apply this gloss on towel dried hair. I wanted to make sure we avoided the over-processed areas right away. You know, you don't want to start on the areas that are super processed, so make sure to comb those out. It's okay if you put color on them, but like, I wanted to just like at least give it a couple minutes and at least start in the areas that needed it the most. So I'm gonna go through and apply, and hopefully it comes out great. So one of the areas where new stylists kind of mess up, and this is super common, but saturation with glosses and toners like this is so key. It is so easy to miss a spot or to not towel blot the hair good enough, and one area is wetter than the other area, and then the gloss doesn't take right. And especially up in the top section, like where a crown would sit, and up through the top where the apex is, like these areas, a lot of the time because of how the hair is falling back, we miss these areas. So it is so critical that you, really take your time and saturate and make sure you have enough product mixed. Like if you run out of product and you're like, I don't feel good about this, like go mix more. There's no reason to skimp out on product during a correction. That's why I believe we should all be charging hourly, because it's really, really important to just have enough product mixed and to, set yourself up to win. So now I'm going through in the front, applying that toner all over and making sure that the saturation is great. And if you've got these over processed areas that you're worried about, you can always put some conditioner down. You can always put some water down to kind of dilute the product a little bit, but just make sure that you are being careful, saturating perfectly, and making sure that, if you are gonna go over these areas, just watch them. And if you notice they're overtoning, rinse it out. You can always tone again, but having to pull out the toner with lightener is such a pain, and it is not that great for the hair. So everything's been on for about 5 to 10 minutes. So we're gonna go through, mush it all together, double check our saturation, double check everything's looking great, and then we're gonna rinse. And be sure to finish with the Defy Damage Pro Series 2, shampoo and conditioner. The full system is what you're gonna get the best results with. If you're not using the full system, don't expect the full results. So let's recap. So let's go all the way back to when this guest walked in. She had this over-processed hair, the blue, the dark black, all of the things. Then we went in and did our first platinum card. We got her nice and light with a beautiful blended root with no root melt, simply just using teas as a blend strategy. We got great results, definitely 9 levels of lift in one sitting, but there was some banding, some imperfections. She definitely needed another session, but what the best part is her hair was healthy. There was no breakage. There was no disasters. It simply was just a little bit imperfect and needed another session. It looks great, but she definitely needed another session. So let's flash forward to this appointment which was 14 days later. I had her wait 2 weeks. She said it was 3 weeks, but it was 2 weeks. I know it feels longer when we don't like our hair. But she had, blonde hair, but just imperfect. She had some banding, all of the things. And after our session today, this is what it looked like. It was gorgeous, a clean, healthy blonde. Obviously, she has her mullet haircut. There was no breakage, and with a nice blowout and product, her cuticle was closed down. It looked really, really great. It took about 9 hours total. The first session was about 6 hours. The second session about 3.5, 4 hours. I do charge $125 an hour, which made her total investment about $1,000, $1,100, which I think is great to go from black to blonde in 9 hours. So I hope that you like this video. Let me know below. Healthy blonde and even results are not easy, but they are possible when you are a specialist. If you take the time to educate yourself and learn your craft, you can do this too. Hope you love these videos. Please subscribe, share, leave me a comment, and I'll talk to you guys soon.